Okay, exercise 5C um, asks you to read aloud, identify infinitives, and translate. Before you can identify an infinitive, you have to know what it is roughly. And this is covered right here. The complementary infinitive. In a nutshell, an infinitive is a verb that means to do something, to climb. Ascendere means to climb. Descendere means to come down, to descend. They always end with re, so that's one way to identify them. You can see that here, re. Errare means to wander, ridere to laugh, ascendere to climb, and dormire to sleep. Those, by the way, are the four. These verbs represent the four verb conjugations, which are coming sooner or later. They end like this: are for the first conjugation, ere with a long e for the second conjugation, ere with a short e, not a long mark over this e, and ire is fourth conjugation. So are, ere, ure, and ire. So that's basically all there is to an infinitive. Complementary infinitive, because the infinitive completes the meaning often of another verb. For example, here, Sextus wants. What does he want? He wants to climb trees. And then notice how it completes this verb here too. Sextus is afraid to come down, to descend. So wants, I want to do something. I am afraid to do something. So these naturally sort of gravitate towards an infinitive verb. This may or may not be of interest, but I'm going to write this down anyway. The word infinitive sort of reminds you of infinity. What is infinity? The word finis in Latin equal is means an end or a boundary or a limit, and something that has no end or no boundary or no limit is infinite. You could say it is. In here means like non, or there is no. So infinity or infinite means endless or without boundaries or limitless. Now, what does that have to do with verbs? Well, I'll give you a very quick idea of it. If we say puellae sedent, the girls sit, you could say that this verb has a limit or a boundary in that it is defined as to this subject here. This subject puts a limit on this verb. This limit can only be, it has to have a plural subject. I mean, I'm going a little bit ahead of where you guys are now, but uh, it defines or limits this verb to this subject, not necessarily to just girls, but any plural subject. So it puts a limitation on it. Like this ending here can't mean I sit or you sit. It has to mean they sit. So it defines or limits it, the verb, to they. It establishes a kind of a boundary for the verb. But the verb sedere, which is actually a long e, I'm not going to bother with that right now. Sedere just means to sit. There is no limitation on it as to who is sitting. It's kind of like it has no boundary, you could say. It's to sit. It's not like I sit or you sit, which has a definite sort of limitation. I or you forces that verb to be limited. But when we say to sit, it kind of has an infinite sort of characteristic to it. There's no limitation put on the verb. So this is why the word infinitive, sort of like a long explanation for something that maybe is not of great interest to people, but sometimes these things are of interest. So I wanted to sort of take a second to spell that out. So read aloud. Here's 5C. Read aloud, identify infinitives, and then translate. So as I said, infinitives often or always, well, for now anyway, often end or always end with re. So basically, you're going through these sentences and you're finding the verbs that end with re. Now you have to make sure there are some nouns that are going to end with re. So you make sure you're looking for a verb, and it does usually at this point, this infinitive, it finishes or, as I say, completes the sense of another verb. So let's take a look at the first one. Ego ad hortum curro, quod davam vexare volo. Volo is new here, and so you see the I for the first time here. Kuro means I run, volo means I want, I wish. So these are new person endings, you could say. You're going to get into the idea of person and number. For example, I is first person singular, you is second person singular. So we are limiting these verbs to a certain person and number. Number just means singular or plural. When I say person and number, I mean first person singular is I. First person plural is we. We'll get into that later on. But for now, just notice that these are I endings now. The letter O equals I, meaning the pronoun I. So, ego ad hortum curo. Ego, also new here. Maybe you've heard the word egomaniac, someone who only thinks of himself, or I am constantly thinking of me, or I, right? So, ego means I. I do not, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to start here. I am running, or I run towards the garden because I want to bother, to annoy Davos. So the infinitive is vexare, and you can see how it completes or complements this verb volo. I want. I want what? I want to bother Davos. So the translation there is I run to or toward the garden because I want or I wish to annoy or bother Davos. And Davos is the direct object of this infinitive. Infinitives can also have direct objects that follow them. Bother Davos, right? There's number one. Number two, another ego, another I. So I, non ascendo, I do not climb the tree because nolo is also new here. It's like the opposite of volo. I do not want, and cadere is the infinitive, to fall, in rivum, into the stream. So there's your infinitive cadere. And by the way, you should probably write this here like this. Vexare infinitive equals, no, vexare. And then you can have the translation following it. So for number two, we'll say the infinitive is cadere, which means to fall. And then we say I don't, or maybe this sounds better. I am not climbing the tree because I don't want to fall. There's the infinitive in capitals, into the stream. Okay, so that's numbers 1 and 2, and I think I'll stop there, and I'll do 2 from exercise 5D. So again, this is translating back into Latin. So Cornelia often wishes to wander in the woods. You'll see that these also have these sentences all have infinitives in them because they want you to practice them. So to wander, to climb, to drive, to come down, to fall. They're all going to have some kind of an infinitive form, and I believe you can get these from the story. Hopefully most of them anyway. I don't remember off the top of my head, but let's take a look at the first two. Cornelia often wishes, so we're going to go with Cornelia. The word for often is an adverb, is saipe, and she wants to wander. That's the infinitive, errare. in Silva, and that's a long A right there as well. So that's important. So I am going to put that in. Sooner or later, you'll see that that is important. So now again, we can change the word order around a little bit. Infinitives usually come before the verbs that trigger them. So Cornelia saipe in Silva errare vult. I'm just going to make this. That's probably it. Cornelia in Silva saipe errare vult, or even better. I'm probably overdoing this now. Cornelia and Silva errare saipe volt. I'm not even positive what the best word order is here. It doesn't really matter. As long as you see volt, she wants, and errare is to wander. Number two, Flavia wishes to climb the large tree. So Flavia is the subject, Flavia, and she wants, just like Cornelia. And we're going to save that verb and see what else we can put in front of it. The large tree and to climb. So let's say the big tree, magnum arborem, and then she wishes to climb. So the verb, the infinitive is ascendere, and she wishes again is volt. So ascendere volt. I'm gonna. This is just me being type A here. This is me being overdoing it, but I want to have the infinitives and the verbs that trigger them line up right. So Cornelia and Silva saipe errare volt, and Flavia magnam arborem ascendere volt. So she wants to climb. She wants to wander. Those are your infinitives there. We put them in bold if we want and underline them, just so you can see what the infinitives are here. That's one and two, and I'm going to stop there. You can do three, four, and five, and good luck to you.